All right. Very exciting episode today. Got a very good friend of mine, Graham Chapman. Graham's the Vice President of Account Services at 919 Marketing. 919 Marketing is the nation's leading full-service marketing agency. They specialize in everything from PR content to social media to digital marketing programs and a lot more than that. They do have an emphasis with working with franchise companies, which is how Graham and I originally got to know each other. So they're basically a full-service marketing company specializing in the franchise space. They work with franchisors at the national level and also work with franchisees at the local level. So that's kind of the professional bio. On a personal note, Graham's become a great friend of mine, someone that I respect a lot. And someone that I owe a lot to. He's introduced me to, I couldn't even tell you how many people in the franchising world, opened up a lot of doors for me. And, I can just tell you from getting to know him on a personal level, he's the type of guy, give you the shirt off his back. He's always looking for ways that he can help and serve others. So, in my opinion, you can't know enough guys like Graham. And I think he's going to bring a really unique perspective to the podcast because while he's very immersed in the franchising world, he's not a franchisee, yet he's very entrepreneurial and he's, working in his family business and growing his family business and kind of, charting his own path to freedom through that. And so, again, I think he'll bring a very unique perspective and excited to have him on the podcast. So, Graham, welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast. Thanks for dropping in with us, my man.
Well, damn, Wes, I appreciate that. That was a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it.
I've learned a thing or two from, working with you guys for a few years over at 919. I've learned a thing or two about marketing and PR, I guess. It's rubbed off on me.
A little bit. You did a heck of a job there. I guess quickly on my background before we jump into topics.
And hold on, before you do that, because just for anyone that's watching this on YouTube and not just listening to the audio, I want to make it clear, Graham is not actually a defensive coordinator for a college football team. He just looks like that today.
I do have the headset, the hat, the terrible facial hair, the college branded shirt.
Sponsored by Under Armour.
That's right, man. I wish we could all use some sports in our life at this point.
No doubt, but it's a good look for you. So sorry, I just had to throw that in there. But no, go ahead. Give us a little more.
No, man, that's actually a heck of a segue. My original intention was to be, if I wasn't an athlete, as I played baseball through college, to either coach baseball or to be a sports agent. I thought I was going to be Jerry Maguire until I worked for a sports agent and realized how much butt kissing and hand holding that required. So we had to go a different direction.
Even more than PR? Jeez.
That's a lot of butt kissing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of butt kissing.
No doubt.
Left college in the late 2000s, in the 2008, 2009 range, which, as everyone can remember, was not the best time to be an undergraduate person looking for a job.
No, indeed.
Because even if you had done your job to talk to people and make connections, they were not hiring. In fact, they were saying, look, dude, I might be losing my job, so I can't get you a position.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I remember the times all too well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You went through the same thing at about the same time.
Yep.
My dad was nice enough to give me an opportunity at 919 Marketing when we had first started working in the franchising space. At that time, we literally had 2 franchising clients in Doctors Express, which has now been acquired by American Family Care, and Senior Helpers, one of the first in-home care brands to take advantage of, that new trend of in-home care for older folks as the population aged. So, I've been thankful, been lucky to have been there for almost 11 years now. As I said to Wes before, I didn't really go in with the intention of working in the family business. That wasn't like the game plan or the blueprint for the future. But as one of my good friends in franchising, Michael Plummer at Our Town America once said, who himself ended up, working for his father and working in the family business there, destiny isn't always something you get to choose for yourself. Sometimes your destiny chooses you. And with my relationship with my dad, who's my main mentor and my best friend and been a heck of a role model for me, it just sort of came together and it's worked out great, for me to work in the family business. So it's cool.
Yeah, I've got to know your dad, David Chapman, over the years. He is an amazing guy, and I can only imagine a great role model, not only as a father but as an entrepreneur and a businessman. So, talk a little bit more about how 919 marketing got started, and then even more specifically, how you kind of found your way into this niche of specializing in PR and marketing for franchise organizations.
Sure, would love to, man. So, like most, we are in franchising by accident. Because of, I think, partially because of a lack of educational opportunities at the high school and collegiate level about franchising to expose people to this business model. I think that's part of the reason that so few people intend to arrive here.
Yeah.
And also, when you're a kid, you don't dream of I'm going to, be a franchise marketing person. You want to be a firefighter or a baseball player or a musician, whatever. Anyway, so quick aside there, recovered from. My dad started the company in 1996, so we are almost 25 years old. He worked for the Interpublic Group and a bunch of the largest marketing agencies in the world prior to that, living his madman life and doing a bunch of sports marketing work. And so at that time, he intended to take advantage of a lot of the tech-based businesses around sort of the dot-com era and the RTP, Research Triangle Park, here in Raleigh, Durham. After that sort of bubble burst, there was, what's our next strategy? What's our next move? As these large corporations reduce their budgets and all these dot-com companies are going out of business, what's the next space where we can develop a niche? And at that time, my brother, who's a lot younger than me, this is heading towards the mid 2000s. He's in 8, 9 years old range. Is playing in a little league baseball team that my dad is coaching. As I'm sure many of you out there can relate to, if you're the head coach and own a business, you can try to ask people to sponsor the team, but it ain't happening. So 919 Marketing was the sponsor.
You end up sponsoring it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Unless you'll find that out with your daughter when she starts playing sports, it's going to be the Path to Freedom soccer team.
Path to Freedom, Shelf Genie. Who knows? If we have enough companies, we can easily sponsor all of her sporting events, though.
Exactly. Spread the wealth, man.
Right now, it'll be dance tights and tutus with our company logo on it. If she keeps following her current interest, tap dancing.
That could be interesting. a logoed ballerina uniform. That's unique for sure.
I'll try anything.
So after one of the games, a guy that many of us know well, Doug Shadle from Rhino 7 Franchise Development Company out of Apex, North Carolina, came up to my dad and said, have you guys ever done any work in the franchising space? Because his son played on the team as well. So his son was teammates with my brother. My dad said no, but he's open to it. So again, this was right when senior helpers were starting to take off, Doctors Express and these sort of urgent care franchising models about to take off. We were fortunate to catch 2 well-run emerging brands when they were ready to take off. And obviously, as the aging population was growing and continuing to grow, we had so much opportunity to get those stories told on those 2 brands and how they were looking to take over their respective segments, got them a ton of coverage, helped them sell a lot of franchise units, helped to support their franchisees and position them as local experts in their communities. Both of those companies have since been acquired. And that gave us our great sort of reputation in the space on the PR side, and we were successfully able to ride sort of the coattails of that to continuing to produce great work for other franchise businesses for almost 15 years at this point. And now, 15 years later, we have 35, 40 franchise clients, and it represents more than 95% of the clients we work with.
Well, and I was going to say, because while franchising is kind of your main area of focus, you do have other clients that are not in franchising, which I think is great because it gives you, kind of a broader perspective, I would imagine, in terms of, you're able to pull from some things that non-franchise companies are doing and implement some of that with your franchise clients and vice versa. And I've had the opportunity through some of the brands that I've been affiliated with over my career in franchising to work directly with you guys over at 919. Always been a good experience for me. And so I've kind of seen this firsthand, but, talk a little bit about what separates 919 marketing and your approach from, that of other marketing and in particular, I guess, other PR companies? What would you say that really differentiates 919 marketing?
Cool. I'm certainly willing to answer that, and I want your take as a former client of ours. So the way that I put it, and I think you'll agree with this, is that we're the most strategic storytellers in franchising. So look, there are a lot of great PR agencies and other digital and social marketing agencies in franchising. I think we're the only one that offers the comprehensive solutions that we have, that we can do fran dev and consumer. We can do any type of content marketing out there, whether it be more traditional, PR work, or helping to place advertisements, doing media buys, or taking advantage of the modern day online landscape, helping you create the right type of content, videos, blog posts, articles, infographics, any type of content that can be used to fuel e-marketing programs, social media programs, other digital marketing programs. So anything possible that's tied to content or PR that you can use to share your brand story with the world, we can do that. But I think the main difference, and it goes back to that strategy part, is that we've introduced franchising's very first data analytics program that goes well beyond Google Analytics or these other things that you have access to really figure out what content is currently bringing people to your website, what's keeping them there, and what's converting them, comparing that to the content programs of your competitors' websites, and helping us determine when we first start working with you, where should we focus our time and attention? What types of topics should we really be writing about to maximize the investment? And then moreover, what other types of PR opportunities should we pursue so we could secure backlinks to those pieces of content to give them the right type of elevation? So I really think it's about, number one, the storytelling capacity and power that got us the reputation in the space, and then marrying that with that sort of data-based strategy component that makes sure we're focusing on the right things. But I'd like to know your take.
Well, no, I think it's well said, and it lines up with my experience. I mean, I think you're right. Storytelling has always been important in marketing, but I think it's more important than ever because there's just so much competition out there for people's attention, right? So it's the companies that are better at telling their story and also that understand, what it is their clients are looking for. And so that they can cater to that. Those are the companies that are going to come out on top in terms of getting the attention of their clients or their prospective clients. So I would say in my experience, you guys do a very good job of that. And in order for you to be able to do a good job of that, you have to really understand your clients, meaning you have to spend a lot of time really getting to know them at the onset of that relationship so that you really know what their story is and what it is that they're trying to communicate. And, in my experience as a franchisor and a franchisee, we've worked with different marketing companies. And I would say the majority of them out there try to take more of a one size fits all approach where they're like, hey, this is the formula we have for our clients. This is what seems to work. They'll do a little bit of get to know you at the beginning of the relationship, but then they're just going to kind of throw your brand or your company into, this more one size fits all formula and, hope that they get some results. And, when we started working with 919, I remember too, we spent a lot of time talking about, all right, what are the results you're looking for? What are the goals? Because, there's a lot of metrics that a marketing company can throw in front of you and say, hey, we're doing a great job. Look at all these impressions that we got, or, there's metrics out the wazoo. So I think it's important to understand.
Check out these KPIs.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of times at the end of the day, that's not really moving the needle for the business owner, right? It might look good on a dashboard somewhere, but it's not really actually getting results or, ultimately creating more revenue, right?
That's right.
So I would say it was a different experience, working with 919 in that regard. And then like you mentioned, you combine that with the data analysis though, which can be very helpful, and it can allow you to really, understand what's working well, what's not working as well. And then you can continue to, adapt and dial in your strategy over time.
Yeah. I mean, without something like that, you're guessing. You might have more informed guesses if you've been working in that business model for a long time. The types of questions that fran dev prospects are asking. the types of things you hear from people through the due diligence process. It is smart. It does make sense to write content and do strategies around those topics. But there are other things that, and like, specific phrases that prospects are typing into search engines that you need to rank for those exact things. And it might be different than how they phrase the question on the phone. But yeah, all the things you said, I agree with. I would say when it comes down to it, no matter what type of business you're running, you, or when you were in that seat, managing our relationship as a vendor of yours, all you're looking for is to surround yourself by good people who can get you answers to the questions that you have.
Yeah.
There were many occasions where you came to us with an issue, or you said, I'm dealing with this challenge. How can you help me fix this? And it's my job, or our job as account management people on our end, to, if we don't have the answer, to either figure out what it is or to put you in touch with someone who knows that answer. And that's sort of how I approach life. And I want to sort of throw something back to you here again, but from a personal and a professional standpoint, I think, life is pretty challenging in some ways, especially when we're in the midst of a virus crisis at the moment. But when it comes down to it, all your friends and your colleagues are looking for is, can I rely on this person? Is this person accountable? If I have a question, are they going to take it seriously and try to help me find an answer?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, pretty rare that you would expect a business partner or a vendor or, even just a friend in your life to have all of the answers all the time. That's unrealistic. Yeah. What you're looking for is someone that you can count on, right? To, shoot you straight. Hey, I don't know, but I'm going to go find out for you.
Yeah.
Or I know someone that does know. And that's what I was kind of alluding to at the top of the podcast. I can't even keep track of all the different people that you've introduced me to over the years. And, oh, hey, you need to meet this person. This is how this person might be able to help you out, and you might be able to help them out, and facilitated introductions. You're always looking for ways to do that. And that, to me is, had a huge impact, which has been awesome. So yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing that, to me was nice working with you guys was, I was able to come to you with a lot of crazy off the wall ideas and say, hey, I've got this crazy idea, but I have no idea how to implement it. Let's brainstorm and, see if we can figure this out. And, sometimes you guys would in a kind of diplomatic way say, yeah, that is a crazy idea, and it's probably not going to make sense to implement that. But, we still poked some holes in it and tried it. But then,
Sure.
we had some ideas that we tried and had some success with too. So I appreciated that, you were at least willing to think outside of the box with me and put our heads together and see what we could come up with. So that was cool. And I just want to say, I'm not currently a client of 919 Marketing, so I don't really have a dog in the fight. I've just, had a good experience. And I think that most business owners out there have probably had a bad experience with some sort of a marketing company, right? In terms of not getting the results that they were promised or that were talked about. So I just think it's important, if you're a business owner, franchise, non-franchise, franchisor, franchisee, independent business owner, whatever the case is, obviously marketing is important. You want to partner with a company that's going to listen to you, that's going to understand what your business is all about, what your message is, help you tell your story in a captivating and effective way, but that's going to be willing to work with you. Obviously, you're looking to them to provide guidance and advice, but at the same time, in my opinion, you want someone that's willing to understand what you're trying to accomplish and then help you facilitate that.
Sure, man. Well said. Can
Yeah.
I ask you what you're doing now that we're not working with you anymore? I know that people out there may know, but tell them, what's Path to Freedom all about?
Yeah. So Path to Freedom's my newest venture, I guess you could say. It's a consulting business. Well, there's two aspects to it. So there's the Path to Freedom podcast, which we're on right now. I don't really have any plans to monetize that unless 919 wants to be my first sponsor. Then we can have that talk.
Maybe.
But no, really, it's a consulting business where I work with people to help them understand franchising and determine if maybe that's a good fit for them to get into business for themselves. Or, I work with people that are already in business for themselves and they look at franchising as a way they can add to their portfolio of businesses. And for me, it's a way that I can leverage the skills that I've learned over the last 7-8 years in franchising.
And the
Also,
relationships you have.
the relationships I have, the experience that we have as franchisees, but, it's really a way that I can help people. I mean, franchising's had such a huge impact on, not only my life, but our family's life. It's, put us in a position where we now have a lot more control and a lot more freedom. And that gives us a lot of resources that we didn't have prior to owning our own businesses. And, franchising was really what started us down that path of becoming business owners and, creating this kind of level of freedom in our lives that we never really thought we would be able to. So, I have a process where, if someone is interested in exploring franchise opportunities, similar to what we just talked about with 919, I mean, the process is all about the individual that I'm working with, right? Like, one of the questions I get a lot is, hey, what's the best franchise out there? And my answer is always the same. It depends, right? It
Yep.
depends on what you're looking for, right? The best franchise for Graham is probably not the best franchise for Wes because they're different people. So the process focuses on the individual or the people that I'm working with. And it starts with defining the characteristics of a business that would be best suited for them and vice versa. It starts with defining how they see their role as an owner playing out. It does not start with the widget, the product, or the service, right? That comes later. You got to get clear on the characteristics of the business that you think you'd be best suited for before you can focus on the widget. So basically, it works like a real estate agent, right? I help people find franchise opportunities that are very likely to be a good match for them based on what I've learned about them. And I create what I call a model based on that. And then from there, I introduce them to the franchise companies. They do their due diligence, learn all about the brands. And if it ends up being a good fit, the franchise companies compensate me. So the best part of it is it's a free service to the people that I work with. So it's obviously it's a business for me, but it's also a way that I can really help people and help a lot of people take those first steps of getting into business for themselves, ultimately with the goal of creating more freedom for themselves.
Well, look, I'm glad you're doing it, man. Obviously you've already taken the plunge into business ownership prior to this, but you have a lot of wisdom and experience and honestly personality to share with a bunch of people and help them realize their own dreams of business ownership. So well done, my man.
Well, awesome. I appreciate that. And again, a lot of credit to you for all the help that you've given me along the years. And, on that note, I want to have you just kind of put your marketing hat on and, let's step outside of kind of franchising for a minute. Because a lot of the people listening to this podcast are, aspiring entrepreneurs. Maybe they haven't taken that first step into business ownership yet, or maybe they're in business, but it's not a franchise, or they're just not as well versed in franchising. What advice would you give with your experience to someone that's, right there on the verge of getting into business for themselves, or is just, kind of starting down that path when it comes to how to appropriately market your business? What advice would you give to a brand new business owner, keeping in mind that, they may not have the most robust budget for marketing, and especially for something like PR?
Of course. The first thing I would say to anybody that's just about to get into business, we'll make it so it's not franchising specific, is, when you're thinking about marketing, if you're thinking about hiring an external agency, make sure you're ready for it. Make sure your operational house is in order. Make sure that your customers would have an effective experience or a happy experience when they used your products and services. Or honestly, marketing and PR might be bad for you. If you get the phone ringing off the hook and you start marketing your business before you're pretty sure that you're going to make the right impression, when you start getting customers in the door, marketing is not the right move. However, I would say, look, word of mouth and customer referrals and reviews and things like that, people sharing information about your brand is the best way to bootstrap and grassroots your effort out of the gate. So again, right when you're getting started, those first few months, if you are with a franchise brand, hopefully they have a grand opening program in place. They have internal tools that can help you. And that's part of the benefit if you are considering opening your own business of buying into a franchise, is that they have a lot of these marketing tools in place, and the corporate office can help with a lot of those things. But if that's the case, the grand opening part does matter. It is absolutely worth the investment to make a big splash. But again, that's for the hard grand opening, not the soft grand opening. Do a soft grand opening for your business to make sure everything's running smoothly, that your
Right.
employees are trained effectively, that all ships are arriving on time, all those types of things. And then, you should spend, the requisite amount of money to make the right splash with local media members, maybe do a live remote with a TV station or a radio station, do a direct mail campaign, do a number of online advertising initiatives to build a lot of buzz and attention for your business when that grand opening happens. But before you're open for business and before you're certain that customers are going to have the right experience, marketing probably isn't right for you, despite the fact I'm a marketing guy and would probably like to tell you it is.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point, right? Because you don't want to spend money to shine a spotlight on a brand new business that doesn't
Yeah,
yet have all the kinks worked out, right?
that's right.
So I think that's a valid point. And you bring up another good point, which is, one of the benefits, and in my opinion, one of the many benefits of, buying into a franchise is that a lot of that's already going to be in place for you. Obviously there's already an established brand. They're going to have, even if they're not partnered with a company like 919, they probably have an internal marketing department. They're
That's
going to have
right.
a lot of the collateral and the assets that a brand new franchisee can use.
Yep,
And, assuming it's even just somewhat mature brand, they're going to have a lot of data, right, that a
that's
new
right.
franchisee can leverage. They're going to say, hey, here's what other franchisees in similar markets to yours have done to market their business. This is what
Yeah,
worked. This is what didn't work as well. So you're going to be able to leverage a lot of that experience that collectively, they have from their other franchisees to help you avoid making mistakes as you're getting started, and wasting, money as a brand new business on marketing initiatives that, they may know from experience are not very effective.
that's right.
Um,
And
so
as Wes would tell you, as the coach helping you through this process, or any franchisor that a candidate is speaking with, marketing is important. Obviously, I'm not undercutting the value of marketing. And the grand opening is really just the very beginning. That's your runway to get started. If you haven't planned budget wise to afford marketing efforts to fuel your revenue or your sales goals for the first year, 3 years, 5 years, which should be in the 8 to 10% range, to help you get to that point, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So the other part of that would be wait until it makes sense to launch your marketing programs. But when you do, don't have a short-term vision of it.
yeah,
Don't invest for 30 days and say, I don't have a ton of leads, I need to stop this. It's a long-term play. Don't
yes,
allow your marketing company to get away with not being able to report on those things and to not have dedicated goals to those things. But don't shut off marketing programs in the first 30 to 60 days because your phone's not ringing off the hook. It doesn't work that way, especially when it comes to more digital marketing work or paid and organic online programs are trying to influence the amount of people coming to your website or learning more about your brand, or really ramping up your organic search viability of your website. That takes time to build, but
hmm,
that's where you get the sort of 10x growth if you commit to that side of things, because people are trying to find answers to their problems on their time. It's going to require many touch points to get to a place where they start to trust you specifically as a brand, as the person, or as the brand that can solve that specific problem. And you need the right type of content, the right type of information on your website to convince them that you're the right entity to solve their problem. They start relying on you for even more than that.
yeah, such a good point. Because I mean, I see it with people I work with now. I definitely saw it when I was doing franchise development for brands, and particularly the brand that my wife and I are franchisees with now, Shelf Genie. It's a pretty marketing and advertising intensive business. We do a lot of outbound marketing. It's a home based business. We don't have storefronts, showrooms where you're getting foot traffic and that sort of thing. Um, and people that were looking at that business, it seemed like everyone, and I mean, honestly, it's the case with some of the franchisees in that business too. It's like people are looking for the one silver bullet that's going to
Yeah,
drive all of their
yeah,
leads. And I mean, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of businesses that I'm not as familiar with, but I don't know that that's out there. There's not many businesses where you're going to have one single marketing vehicle that drives all of your business, especially in this day and age. You know, people have information at their fingertips. So there's a lot of different ways that they can go about learning about products or services that they may be interested in. And people tend to do more research these days than they used to because the information's so readily available. So, like in that business, we know we have to have a very comprehensive approach to marketing, right? That's grassroots, that's print, that's digital, it's PR. I mean, it's all of that. And yes, you know, we're measuring how successful that is in terms of what's the ROI we're generating from the marketing dollars that we're investing. But we've also learned that, you know, you want to track it by marketing channel as best you can, but that's not a perfect science and it probably never will be. You know, we know good and well that if a appointment shows up for us in that business that came from our website,
Yeah.
you know, very likely that they saw us at a home show 3 months ago and
That's
that
right.
sparked their interest. And then maybe they got a direct mail piece a month after that. And then they went to the website and that's how they booked the appointment. You know,
Yep.
so the attribution doesn't always tell the full story. So what we do is we look at our overall ROI. This is how much we've invested total over whatever time frame we want to look at it. And this is our
Yeah.
total ROI. And if that number is where we need it to be, we keep on investing. And, you know, over time, you'll be able to identify, all right, this particular marketing channel is clearly not getting any traction for us. So
Yep.
maybe we can, you know, move some money around over here, reallocate some of those dollars to something that is working better. But we don't look so much at it, you know, channel by channel, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Totally
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, and that's something that, you know, the people I work with now, I really try to coach them through is, you know, like you said, make sure you've got enough capital on hand to
Yes.
really invest appropriately in marketing your business when you're getting started. And I would say that's the same, you know, even if you're not looking at getting into a franchise business, it's not just about how much money do I need to get my doors open for business. You need to make sure that you've got plenty of capital so that you can really give yourself a good chance to get that business ramped up. You know, it's
Mhm.
going to cost money and it's a long-term play. Like you said, I mean, you know, some of the marketing things you may be investing in may be able to start, you know, producing for you in a relatively short period of time. But that's when you want to step on the gas even harder. You know, when
Yep.
you start getting some traction,
Reinvest.
that's when you want to be able and be in a position to invest even more. So, you know, for someone that's looking at a franchise business, that's part of what the franchisor is going to be able to educate you on, right? This is how much you need to get open. But in addition to that, this is how much we recommend based on our experience that you have on hand for operating expenses, which will include marketing and advertising. And different businesses are different in terms of their requirements and how they go about marketing their business. And then you'll have the chance to talk with franchisees and they can validate that. They can say, well,
Yep.
actually, I didn't need quite as much as they're recommending, or actually it took me, you know, a little bit more to really get my business to the point where it was ramped up. But I have seen people make that mistake where they focus on, all right, this is how much capital I need to get open for business. And they don't necessarily focus so much on the operating capital, which very much includes money to market and advertise your business.
Totally.
So all good stuff, but I feel like we've got to shift gears here a little bit and, you know, talk about something that's on everyone's mind right now. COVID-19. We're recording this on, what is this, the last day of March today, March 31st, the day that we're
You mean
recording
March
this.
97th?
Yes, March 97th. Yes, day 23,492 of quarantine is about what it feels like. So, um, I mean, thoughts. I mean, you're talking to a lot of different companies. You guys have a lot of
Yep.
different clients across all different industries. Different businesses are being impacted in different ways. You know, the one I think commonality out there is there's a lot of uncertainty. No one knows
Oh, yeah.
exactly how this is going to play out or when it's going to, you know, kind of start to settle down. So what are you seeing? What are you hearing? And, you know, what advice would you give to business owners, you know, in uncertain times like these, what they should and shouldn't be doing right now?
Sure. Well, I first want to credit the IFA and a ton of vendor companies and franchisors and other influencers in the franchising space for rallying together so quickly to put together endless webinars every day, industry specific, topic specific.
Yeah.
Basically, what I would like to say to everybody is if you have a question about something specific, there is a webinar that's happened recently
Yeah.
where smart people who've been in this space for a long time can give you some great nuggets to apply. So the amount of content available in franchising and elsewhere is crazy, and I think that speaks to a positive about franchising or about the business owners. Period. That tough times or challenges inspire all of us to rise to the occasion. And figure out ways to make it through and sort of have an onward and upward approach, which is what I would say on a top level would be my recommendation to any business owner right now, whether it be at the franchisor, franchisee, or vendor level. That this, with any type of crisis on the back end or even during it, there's a ton of opportunity. So the brands out there who are bold and decide to find a way to make the most of this opportunity to over communicate with their franchisees, their customers, their staff members about what they're doing, about coming up with innovative strategies on the fly, like all these restaurants offering curbside service.
Yeah.
Some of these service brands getting out there doing vehicle disinfecting, because what a lot of people don't understand is that their car might be the worst place to get into right now with all the germs that manifest there as you go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station, then you get back in your car. So any brand out there who's taken it upon themselves to say, look, this is a problem, but we can do these things to be proactive with it, to help our franchisees get ahead, to make sure our customers know how we're protecting their health and safety and that of our franchisees and staff members. If you're doing everything you can to communicate that through email, through getting on TV, offering yourself up as a media spokesperson, through social media channels, taking this opportunity to double down on content, and make sure also that if you are currently running ads or currently have things planned, that you work quickly to recalibrate those topics so you aren't ignoring the elephant in the room and you are at least talking about it. That's all you can do. And the people who do take the time to do that and work the long hours and put in the time right now and don't go into hiding or sort of just shut things down and shut things off, those are the brands that are going to capitalize on this moment and honestly take advantage of all these customers at home right now. They're thinking about in the future, where am I going? What am I going to invest in after this? What franchise opportunity do I want to invest in? What restaurants do I want to patronize? I need these things done in my house. Who can I call? The ones who are doing their part right now to make sure they're still generating brand awareness and sending the right message about their approach to this issue, those brands are going to thrive.
I agree. I think, there's two ways you can react in your life and in business when situations like this arise. And, this is obviously kind of unprecedented, especially here in
Totally.
America. But,
Totally.
at the same time, it's not that different from life in general, right? Things that you can't control happen all the time, right? So you have two choices, right? You focus on what you can't control and you kind of roll over and you let it happen to you.
Yep.
Or you focus on what you can control and, you stay positive and you stay as productive as possible. And so, that's what we're doing in our businesses. We are choosing to focus on what we can control, which is our mindset, our outlook, and how we spend our time, right? So instead of sitting around watching the news, worrying about what could happen, what may happen, obviously we want to stay educated and up to date with what's happening. We want to be, safe as all of this happens. We want to follow the appropriate protocols and all of that. But at the same time, we are looking for ways that we can continue to move forward and continue to be as productive as possible on a day-by-day basis. And, you bring up a good point with the IFA, which for those that don't know is the International Franchise Association. They've been fantastic. I mean, it's been really cool for some of us franchising insiders, I think, to see how franchising as a community is really pulling together.
It's been awesome.
Through all of this and really helping everyone that's involved in it figure out how they can come out on the other side of this stronger. And I think there will be
Yeah,
a lot of companies and a lot of brands, not limited to franchising, that come through this and are much, much stronger because of it. At the same
yep,
time, there's going to be some that, they do just kind of roll over and let whatever happen. And they're either not going to make it through, or they're going to come out and they're going to be so far behind, whoever their competition is, that they won't be able to catch up. So,
that's right.
um,
That's right.
yeah, and to me, it's also like, because I think about our Shelf Genie franchise, like we have so many resources available to us, and franchisees all over the country that are dealing with the exact same situation that we are,
Yeah,
right? We've had
yeah,
conference calls where owners are just brainstorming ideas and talking about, well, we could do this differently. We could do this. Like, we're running virtual design consultations where that normally happens in the house, but we're not sitting around just waiting this out until we can get back to work.
that's
Um,
right, man.
but it's just, shown me more than ever how being a part of, something that's bigger than just us, especially in rough times like this, can be very, very beneficial. Whereas with one of our other businesses, we're dealers for a garage organization. We're kind of on our own, right? We're left to
That's right.
figure it out, and we'll be fine. But there's not a whole lot of resources. There's certainly no sense of community there, which is great in the good times. It's even better, in the rough times like this.
There's no doubt. And to what you said, man, I think all you can control is your attitude,
Yeah.
and sort of your approach to how you handle a crisis. Shameless plug, our CEO wrote an article on this topic about how businesses should approach the coronavirus issue from a marketing perspective. That is a worthy read, sort of giving you 8 specific tips on if you are making that choice to be bold and to go after it and try to get ahead during this time. He's given some good actionable strategies there. But what I really wanted to mention, which I think speaks to your sense of community that you mentioned and people coming together, my dad, David Chapman, and our good friend Pete Baldine and Moran Brands recently came up with this great idea with the Whiskey Wednesday series, where every Wednesday, all of our franchise friends are going to try to come together and just send like a little, minute to minute and a half positive message about, what are we thinking about, just showing that we're there for everybody, that we're here to help. And honestly, just giving everyone an opportunity to say something about what they're doing to cope with this, or what they're doing to get through this time. I've been mentioning some, how much music means to me. And I think, I don't know anybody else out there, but when it comes to tough times, music really resonates in a much bigger way with me. So thankfully it gets me back to playing music, getting my rudiments back and listening to some cool stuff, which I appreciate. But it really just gives us that chance to remind people that we're here for them. I hope anybody out there listening to this would consider getting involved and take a moment just to record a quick video of yourself doing something that you like, that you're passionate about, and just send a nice message out there to remind everybody in franchising that you're here too, you got their back, and we'll all make it through it together.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a brilliant idea, and just, sharing a little bit of positivity, right? I mean, that can go a long way.
Absolutely.
And it's cool to see, what different people do, in terms of, how to lift themselves up a little bit. And, a little bit of whiskey might not hurt either.
Never
So,
hurts.
but I will definitely be contributing to Whiskey Wednesday. I think that's fantastic. Talk about some other things, because I definitely don't want to, end this podcast on a, kind of a negative note. So, I mean, talk about some of the other things you're fired up about. I know you well enough to know, and just like we talked about, you got to stay positive. You got to focus on the
Yep.
things you can control. So what are some of the things that you're really fired up about right now?
Well, look, I mean, not to belabor the point before, but I'm really fired up about all the opportunity that's going to be out there, not just for us, but everybody in franchising. As we power through this, as we persevere, as we come out on the other side of the coronavirus pandemic. And even in the interim, there's so much opportunity to implement those ideas that you've had in mind that you haven't had the time to roll out. This is the time to do it. This is the time to be bold, to take those risks. We're rolling out a lot of our video programs that we were trying to tackle with the brand new studio that we have at our offices at 919, giving a phenomenal platform for so many of our clients and allowing us to handle that in-house. is going to turn out to be some fantastic stuff that's going to help them with their content marketing efforts. I am really excited still about getting our data analytics program in the hands of many, many more franchisors this year and the years to come. It's turned out to be a great differentiator for us. The brands who are using it are really seeing massive jumps in their organic search rankings, the performance of their content, being really smart and strategic about where to place your time on pursuing the right type of PR opportunities and media opportunities, because I know everybody out there, a lot of franchisors are sick and tired of all these sort of, weak, passive metrics when it comes to the performance of PR programs. If we can start to identify, if you pinpoint and target these 10 sites, these 20 websites, get covered there and get backlinks from that site, it's going to have this type of impact.
Yeah.
That's sort of like next level thinking when it comes to not just taking advantage of the brand awareness piece of PR, but the overall benefit of how it can help elevate your website and make sure you're found by the people that matter to you. And honestly, I think what I'm most excited about, we have a lot of phenomenal people working at 919 Marketing. We've grown due to, the franchising space being so fantastic and us putting in the time to develop the right reputation, develop the right type of relationships, and do honestly great work for so many different people. We've been able to recruit some great employees to work in our company. And as someone who grew up in sports and learned from a bunch of great mentors that I still use their advice and guidance today, I can only hope that, I can be half as effective at being a coach and a mentor to other people working in our company, so I can help them have great careers and pursue their own dreams using our company as an access point to franchising.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fantastic team over at 919. Shout out from me to my boy Robert and also Erica. I can't forget about Erica. She's my dude.
She'd kill you if you forgot her.
Oh, I know. That's why I had to cover my ass and give her a shout out. I don't want her coming after me.
No, you don't.
Yeah, she's my dude. But no, fantastic team over there. And again, I know Graham, and he loves to, serve the people that he works with, and that work, for his company. So, to me, that's something fantastic to be fired up about is, helping the team that's working with you there in your company continue to grow and develop. I just wanted to share quickly, because I was on a really, really, impactful conference call earlier today with FranChoice, which is the network I'm associated with for my franchise consulting. And, a couple of the consultants that have been doing this for a very long time, they've been through all types of ups and downs, in terms of the economy. And, so they were just sharing some insight and some things that they're really focusing on and helping the candidates that they're working with focus on in terms of, finding the optimism and everything that's going on right now. So, they were really pointing out that this could, for a lot of people, be the perfect time to be looking at something like getting into business for yourself, especially through buying a franchise. The feds have lowered the interest rate, so money's about as cheap as it's ever been, and lending's going to continue happening, right? I mean, when we had the Great Recession, 08, 09, 010, you couldn't get your hands on loans, right? So it was very hard for people to get into business for themselves. That's not going to be the case with this downturn in the economy. Money's going to be very cheap. So will real estate, right? So if you're looking at getting into a franchise where, real estate may be a component to that, no better time than in the coming months to negotiate, find good real estate, and get good prices on your lease. I think there's also going to be a lot of talent out there. I mean, unemployment's been at an all-time low. I know for a lot of franchisees, it's been hard to find good people, right? Well, unemployment's going to go up as a result of all of this. So your talent pool is going to be, I think, a lot deeper than what it has been for the last couple of years. And a lot of other examples like that. I don't want to belabor the point, but, again, just people looking for the positive in all of this. There's going to be some more rough days ahead of us, no doubt, but we're all going to get through this, especially the people and the companies that focus on what they can control, think outside of the box, and, just keep pushing forward.
Well, speaking of what you can control, I mean, you mentioned that, look, let's face it, there are going to be people, and already have been, people that are going to be laid off or furloughed during this, virus pandemic. And then as we may get into a recession or at least an economic dip, what better time than to consider making that jump into business ownership and controlling your destiny with the right attitude than now? I mean, especially if you're an older person with a big salary, if the economy takes a dip, it's going to be really challenging to
Yeah.
find a job,
Yeah.
and moreover, as this situation presents, if anyone's looked at their 401k or retirement money recently, it's not great. I wouldn't advise doing it. So look, I mean, when
Yeah.
it comes down to it, that's going to happen again. So, when you are trying to retire, hopefully you've taken some of that money, maybe use it as a rollover to have the funds available with some of those loan options Wes mentioned. If you want to take control of your future and buy a franchise, do it now. A lot of great opportunities out there. As Wes mentioned, a lot of ways to, take out money if you need to do it. You can roll over some of that money before you lose more of it in the 401k side and
Yeah.
start making it work for you.
Well, I just read something last night because what you're alluding to is there's some really awesome programs out there that allow people to roll over a portion of their
Sure.
401k to be used to invest in a franchise business. And you can do that without the tax penalties of taking the money out early. And I think, Storm Miller, he came on the podcast a while back and gave us a great overview of that program. But I was just reading something last night. It sounds like, at least for a period of time, the government's going to allow people to access 401k funds without any tax penalties. So without a special rollover program or anything like that, just to, help make sure people have access to the funds that they need. But, to Graham's point, again, I think the timing could be great for not everyone, but a lot of people, especially if you've been thinking about getting into business for yourself. It could be a really good time. I mean, the way I look at something like franchising is it's an investment tool, just like the stock market, just like a 401k, right? It's just a different type of
Except
investment.
you're betting
It's
on
a way
yourself.
you're betting on yourself. There's a lot of ways that people can buy a franchise and even keep their job, right? It doesn't always have to be that, you're leaving a
Which you did
job
for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of different options out there. I've always followed Warren Buffett, like I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs have. But he's going to tell you that when times are tough like this is when you need to be bold and you need to buy and you need to invest because basically everything's on sale. So I'm definitely following that advice. We're being aggressive, not reckless, but aggressive, and we're looking for the opportunity and. I have no doubt, we're going to come through this much stronger than we were before and, still charging towards, the goals that we've set. So good stuff, man. Well, look, we're going to wrap this up with the lightning round. So I'm going to go through the questions that I like to ask everyone that comes on the podcast. This is one of my favorite parts. Start off, what's the best advice that you've ever received? And that could be business or life advice.
Sure. I think, everyone is trying to find, speaking to your silver bullet analogy, what's going to bring me happiness. I think you have whatever path you choose, whatever you do in your life, you have to learn to love the grind. So, playing sports as a kid, you had to learn to love practice first before you could shine on the field. And here, working today, I'm only as good as the time I put in to learn my craft, to learn things that are changing, to dig deep and learn my franchise clients' business so I can really serve them effectively. So that's it. Learn to love the grind.
Yeah, I like that. If you follow Gary Vee, he talks a lot about, loving the process. And I think that's very similar. So that's a great one. Talk to me about a morning routine. Do you have one?
Yes. As Wes will attest for all the 5:30, 5:45 a.m. texts he gets from me.
Yeah, I would say Graham's morning routine is roll over, open the laptop and start firing off some emails, but I'm sure it's a little more structured than that.
Not really. It is what you said. It is get up, get your coffee, get to the computer, do a number of hours of work. Look, I don't get to the office most days until 9:30, 9:45. But that's because, and I learned this from, I can't remember what Rick Pitino's book was, but he basically said, look, the first thing you need to do, whatever the most important thing you need to get done, or even more importantly, the thing that you least want to do that first. because after that, the rest of the day looks a heck of a lot better. So,
Yeah.
I don't always want to work out all the time. I know everyone's that way. And there are definitely some things with my job, with part of the grind, that are the least desirable things to do. So my first 2.5 hours every day, I get that tough thing done. I go to the gym, and then I shower up and get to the office. So I feel like I have a head start on my day
Yeah.
by the time I get to the office, and I end up staying till, usually 7:30 to get things done and do what I can, working those long hours because I want to do it. But yeah, look, I feel like that's the move. That from 9 to 5 is not your time. That is phone calls. That is things that you're reacting to. If you're going to get ahead, you're going to really make some moves for your clients or for your business. It has to be done either before work starts or after. I just choose to do it before. It's when I'm better.
Yeah. No, I like that. So I guess something to keep in mind is the earlier in the morning I get an email from you, the higher I am on your do not want to do list.
Pretty much.
And the later in the day. Okay. All right. Good to know. I've
No,
gotten
that's
some
not true. It is.
very early emails from you, dude.
No, man. No, it is. That is me delaying the inevitable and doing the things I want to do before I actually do what I'm supposed to do
Now
first.
you backtrack. All right. I know
I
you're
am
a
a
big
PR guy. I
reader.
send the right message.
Right. Yeah. I know you're a big reader like I am. What book are you reading right now?
One I just finished, and this is actually something I teased in a Whiskey Wednesday video, so check it out.
That's right. You did. Yep.
But Super Forecasting, the last name of the writer is Tetlock. It's actually a book that Daryl Morey, the GM of the Rockets, recommended. He's all up in the Moneyball stuff, the analytics side of sports, and how you can start to sort of predict and forecast certain outcomes. I don't know how inside NBA anybody is here, but he assembled some parts to a team, just like in a similar fashion to Billy Bean and Moneyball, to go after the juggernaut that was the Warriors. And there's a lot of great thoughts and opinions and ideas of trials that people have done to get better at predicting the future that I think anyone in business would benefit from. Some specific indicators that you can use to have a better understanding of what might be coming, so you can react, or I guess proactively think better. And then Talk Trigger. So Jay Bear presented at the IFA show in Orlando. I honestly think it was the best presentation by far that happened during that conference. Talking back to my point before about having your operational house in order and getting that stuff figured out. Look, everyone expects you to be competent. No one's going to talk about that. Word of mouth doesn't spread because you've delivered the product and service you said you were going to. Jay Bear's take is that advertising is a tax paid by the unremarkable. And talk triggers are things that you can do every day in your operations, having a deck of cards on the counter at a restaurant, and if someone picks the Old Maid or whatever, they get a free meal. Or on the back of your medal that you're selling, it says call Kurt for a shirt, and you call this guy, and not only does he sell you the shirt, but he can upsell you on other things, and he gives you these shirts that you want to wear. Long story short, think about what you can integrate into your day-to-day operations that's easily replicable but memorable.
I like both of those recommendations. But in particularly I take that back. They both sound fascinating to me. And along those lines, so I read a book, it's been a few months, but good recommendation in case you're looking for one. It kind of ties into the Houston Rockets piece. Called Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Furtado, who's the owner of the Rockets. But he just kind of, tells his story and everything he's learned. He's got an incredible entrepreneurial story.
Yes, he does. And he talks about having the ability to take out money when times are bad like this. So that goes back to your point. He said that also.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, he's got plenty of examples throughout his career where he was able to really capitalize on downturns and times that other companies were just trying to survive. And he was in growth mode because, he was prepared, but at the same time, he was aggressive and he was bold. So look at that. We came full circle. It's almost like we planned that. All right. Final question.
Yep.
What's your definition of freedom, and are you living it?
I think I am. And I think it goes back to my point that I mentioned before about learning to love the grind. Again, people are looking for happiness or freedom or all these positive feelings without sort of putting in the time and effort. I really think the only way you experience happiness or I guess you experience the freedom to relax and get rid of your stress and your anxiety, is if you've solved big problems that matter to you, that you're passionate about, and have a residual impact on the people that you love and appreciate the most. I mean, I don't think there are any other, I guess, moments of happiness that have the same type of impact on you. I mean, sure, I love going to sporting events or going to concerts or going on trips like anybody else, going out to eat a great meal. But unless those are celebrating something that's big that you've accomplished by putting in the sweat equity, I don't think it's, true happiness. And they're always fleeting. Happiness is fleeting, and it should be.
Yeah.
You should always try to pursue that. And I think having the freedom or doing what I do every day or what anyone else does every day, if you feel like you're having the opportunity to solve those problems and you're able to put your time into those things that you care about, I think that is freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, this goes along with what you're saying. I mean, one of the things I've really, come to learn over the years and have had to embrace is you've got to kind of get past this thought that you're chasing perfection, right? Because I mean, it doesn't really exist. I mean, especially in business and life, like you may have these very, very small glimpses in time where everything feels perfect or close to it, but it's not going to last forever. So you've got to get comfortable with the fact that it's never going to feel perfect. And that kind of goes back to, your thought of, learn to enjoy the grind, right? Because you can enjoy the process of always trying to get better and trying to continuously grow, then that's a lot better than chasing perfection, which is, never really going to present itself.
That's right. You can really only truly appreciate, whatever peak you've reached if you've climbed every step.
Well said. Well said. Well, look, man, how can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more about 919 Marketing?
Well, first of all, you can go to 919marketing.com. Money in the bank. That's what we're talking about. You can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. That's where I'm most active, social media channel wise. If anyone wants to reach out to me, number is 919-459-8157. G Chapman at 919marketing.com. As we've said throughout, it doesn't have to be a marketing question. I am all about helping anybody and everybody in franchising and beyond. I am a servant to people. I love relationships. I love helping in any way that I can. So hit me up. I know Wes is the same way.
Yep. And that is money you can take to the bank. Graham, thank you, my man. Really appreciate you dropping in with us on the Path to Freedom podcast. This was a blast, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon, but appreciate
Absolutely,
you, man.
Brother. Thank you, man. My wife and I are looking forward to coming hang out at the beach with you and yours.
Hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
Let's do it, homie.
All right, my man. Take care.
See ya.